what I was going to talk about is how the world these days, we live without honesty, and integrity is something that a value that we've taken for granted also, and something that we've forgotten about, and how the world is living a life that basically we just pretend we have integrity, and we pretend we live with honesty, and we pretend we are honorable, but there is no honor in the world today, and how we have forgotten that. And Daniel is a really great example of that, and how Daniel lived a life with integrity and honesty, and yet we've forgotten what it means to live with honesty and integrity. I mean, Daniel himself said, if you want to know the truth, then ask me, but if you don't want to hear the truth, then don't ask. And we're the type of people that will just say what you want to know. We'll say what you want to hear. We'll tell them what we want to hear. We'll tell people what they want to hear, but we don't tell people the truth. And that's the type of honesty that we need to live as Christians. We need to tell people the truth, and tell people, instead of what people want to hear, but tell people what they need to hear, and tell people the truth of God. And a really good example of that was in the movie that I just watched recently. You've probably seen it. 12 Years a Slave. Yeah, probably sure. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it was actually a part in the movie where there was this Canadian guy, and he was talking to the slave owner, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you that what you're doing is right. He's like, you see what these people are. He's like, you see these people are human beings just like everyone else, and yet you're treating them like if they're not. And he was basically he's working for the slave owner, and he was telling him straight as it is, what you're doing is wrong. And see, that takes courage. You work for someone, and you know what they're doing is wrong, but yet a lot of people, we don't have the courage to stand up and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. What you're and you're pretending that what you think is okay, but yet it's not okay. My aunt actually had the same exact thing happen to her too. She was working for this telemarketing company, or basically they do insurance. And the funny thing is, it had to do with Obamacare. And she had her own thing about that. But the fact was the company is an outsourced company that was working for them, and they were telling my aunt not to tell people it was Obamacare. They were telling her to lie about it, and also the company was also charging people 3 or 4 times. They were working with elderly couples, and they would charge them 3 or 4 times, and since people didn't know they were being, basically they were taking advantage of them because they didn't understand that they were being overcharged. So my aunt felt really I guess convicted about that, and she decided that she was like, I'm not gonna work for these people anymore. And I said, good for you, because if you working for people like that are corrupt and that level, I mean, they're literally taking advantage of the widows and the orphans. Literally, I mean, there's no level of corruption that could probably get worse than that. I mean, there is levels of corruption that can get worse than that, but that's just super wrong. And so we live in a society that is corrupt. We live in a society that is filled with corruption on so many different levels. And my sister is another example of that. I know I have like a whole bunch of stories. My sister, she goes to law school, and she was basically having issues. She was struggling trying to get good grades, and she's the type of person that she gets straight A's left and right every single day of the week. High school, college, she went through all 4 years of high school, all 4 years of college with nothing but straight A's. And yet when she goes to law school, she's getting B's. She's like, how is this happening? She's like struggling to keep up, and her professors aren't even writing letters of because she wants to go into Georgetown, and none of her professors wrote any letters of recommendation. So she's like, wow, my own professors don't even believe in me. And she was talking to one of her mentors, and she's like, how are these kids getting, how are these other guys, they, most of the other kids, she's appalled by the fact that first of all, most of the kids in her school, most of them they didn't get there because of good grades. They didn't get there. I mean, yeah, they're smart, but most of them got money coming in from family members, and most of them have rich family members. A lot of them do, or they know they're one or two of their family members are lawyers. So she's like, I'm the only person that is actually going to the school because of a scholarship, and she's like, come on, like I'm the only person that really appreciates this education. And also another thing is she's also appalled by the fact that most of them there's a high amount of drug use in law school these days. People who are going to law school are literally a lot of them are taking drugs on a more than one occasion. And so she's like, wow, this is crazy. And not only that, but she was talking to her mentor, and one of her mentors actually a lawyer, and she was like, I'm struggling with this, I'm having issues with this, and I don't know how to, I don't know what to do about it. And her mentor is like, well, if everyone else is cheating in the school, you might as well cheat too, because that's the only way you're going to get ahead. And she's like, what? She's like, you're saying that I have to cheat in order to actually get through this, or in order to get to the top? And she's like, yeah, of course. I mean, how do you think I became a lawyer? And it was like that. And she was so disappointed by the fact that there is no integrity in school these days. There is no, everyone's trying to get to the top, but they've sacrificed the one thing that is more valuable than grades. One thing that's more valuable than everything else, and that is having integrity, having honesty, having values that supersede being at the top level. And they forgot about that. They've completely lost track of what it means to have integrity. And Daniel was the type of person in the Bible who he lived a life of integrity, and he lived a life of honesty, and everyone hated him because of that, because not only was he honest and had integrity, but he was also the most valued servant of the king, and so everyone hated him because they're cheating and they're lying and stealing just to get to the top. And yet he tells the truth, and he doesn't lie, he doesn't cheat, he doesn't take bribes, and yet he's considered more valuable than them, and they wanted to kill him because of that. And so that's the type of person we need to be. We need to have honesty and integrity and values, and that's also, I would say, another segment of what it means to be a leader in that case. But that's pretty much it. Yeah.